So we're back, and a number of things to talk about today. Let's talk about this orbiter part. It's got this crazy set of instructions with a lot of parts for landing gear door and operating things. Like there's a little hinged nose landing gear that comes down like that. And it looks like there's going to be doors for that. So that's the nose. And what's frustrating is you've got instructions with no wording because it's a German kit. And so you're figuring out, what is this supposed to do? And you don't know in advance because the instructions aren't very clear. You know, there's a lot of cutaways that look like, oh, deployable landing gear and things like that. And it's really hard to say what's going where, so it makes it difficult to prime parts because you don't know what's going to be exposed and what's not going to be exposed until you put it all together. Anyway, inside the wing, there's a couple of these doors here that are trapped between these parts, and they hinge down like this. I put some, they were black, I put some gray primer on them, anticipating maybe the insides might be white or gray, I'm not really sure. So you've got that, you've got a couple of weird parts here that trap this. There's a part on here. Again, not sure where it goes until you actually put it all together because it's not labeled and it's not clear where it's going to go. I got one of the wing tops put on. You can see there's a mold sink mark in there on that side. And so then it's going to fit on here. And these parts actually, well, this is going to be interesting to get this all in here because they have you glue the wing tops on before you put the fuselage together. And I'm just now noticing there's little tabs on the side that go under the wings, making that maybe a very challenging prospect. So I'm just now discovering this as we talk. It'll snap in there, but it's very, there you go, it snaps in like that. And when you cut these parts off, the wing leading edge, as it turns out, extends past that joint. See, it's not real clear again, because this is this attach point at the sprue, right at the beginning here, at the front. And it turns out you need to trim that off. So I'm glad I didn't trim it off beforehand. So anyway, this is a very bizarre assembly sequence. And you need to do a lot of dry fitting and test fitting. And it looks like there's going to need some putty on the top just because of the sink marks for all these landing gear hinges that go on the inside. So it's very complex. And then meanwhile I got the core put together. I got these feed lines glued on, which is a nice feature. It's a little heavy. I got all the attach points for the strap-on boosters at the bottom finally cleaned up. And there are gaps in here because some pieces, they just don't fit well. You know, they don't fill the whole circumference. And then some of the pieces, like at the top, I had to trim them smaller because they're too large for the circumference. So it's a very strange, odd assembly. So that's on. I had to fill some gaps there with putty. But now the actual nose cap, which has a big ugly seam here that has been very frustrating to try to fill properly because it was I think we saw in a previous episode, big gap there, and I'm going through, you know, I'm trying the Vallejo plastic putty, and it's kind of rubbery. It's not hard, and I guess that's because it's white. So now I filled it in with some flat white enamel paint. Maybe that'll fill that in. I can sand that down and just move on. Because what I want to do is get this all put together, you know, get this all glued, prime this, prime the boosters. I'm just going to prime them with flat white. And then from there, we're going to go on paint the pods that we saw before. And put the middle gray on the nose of this, on the nose of the side boosters, and on those pods, and get this thing closer to being put together. But because it's got so many extra parts, it's been kind of a frustrating and less than fun build. a lot of it is because you don't know where these parts are going. It's very difficult to even tell ahead of time. But we're getting there, and it's an adventure, and we're just going to go through all these different kits and see what we come up with. So stay tuned for next edition in a day or two. Thanks again.